Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead Aherne. Today's top stories. Members of the Waterford Joint Policing Committee are to meet with senior Garda management about changes to local divisions. Farmers have resumed their blockade of dawn meats on the Kilkenny-Waterford border. Boris Johnson's meeting rebel MPs ahead of a showdown in the House of Commons later. And Waterford FC beat Cork City for the third time this season last night. A delegation from Waterford is to meet with senior Garda management to lobby for the city to be the headquarters of the new policing division. There's fears that structural changes to An Garda Síochána could see Waterford being the only city without its own Garda division. It's proposed to join the existing Waterford division with Carlow and Kilkenny. Sinn Féin's Declan Clune is the chairman of the council's Joint Policing Committee.
A representative delegation of members of the JPC to meet the Assistant Commissioner or Commissioner in the very near future with a view to putting forward Waterford as the place to have the Garda headquarters for the region. Obviously, it makes sense.
The Garda Superintendent of Waterford City, Chris Delaney, told the Joint Policing Committee that a decision on the divisional HQ will be made as soon as possible. Declan Clune says Waterford needs to press its case as a result.
Waterford's overall crime figures are higher than Kilkenny and Carlow combined. So it just simply does not make sense to us to potentially lose some superintendents. And we're going to make a case for Waterford. We believe that Waterford deserves it. Waterford has the infrastructure, Waterford has the talent, has the personnel, and it also has the statistics to back it up.
The Garda Commissioners offered to come to Waterford later this year, but Declan Clune says the meeting needs to happen sooner.
It's very, very simple. We don't want to leave it till the last minute. This isn't something we can just wait and see what happens. We want to take the bull by the horns, and just grab this, take this opportunity, go up, make our case and hopefully secure this for Waterford.
Farmers have resumed their blockade of dawn meats in Granny in South Kilkenny despite court threats, with a blockade of ABP in Ferrybank due to get underway this evening after 5 o'clock. National representatives for the Independent Farmers Group were elected in Laois last night. 3 delegates each were sent to the meeting by picketing farmers at ABP in Ferrybank and dawn meats in Granny as well as elsewhere. They'll speak on behalf of farmers if negotiations with the meat industry over prices resume. This farmer says they're well supported at the Waterford pickets.
There's always been huge support for this crowd. I suppose people know really deep down the full truth of it, and they realise, that the major factories, the big companies, that they are there making all the money, whereas the little guy, he's there struggling, striving, and most of the fellas are passing him cars are in the exact same position as us, only they belong to a different industry.
It's reported that the protests have cost meat processors tens of millions of euro in lost production. In court filings seen by the Farming Independent, beef processors Dawn Meats and ABP detailed what they described as significant losses. They're expected to have to pay millions in legal fees in their bid to secure High Court injunctions to prevent farmers from protesting at their plants. ABP claimed sales revenues from its Waterford and Care plants have dropped by almost 20% since the protests recommenced. This has led to a loss of revenue in excess of €1.5 million. Boris Johnson's meeting rebel MPs ahead of a showdown in the House of Commons later. The crucial vote could see an election called as soon as this evening. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe explains what's happening.
A gang of rebel Tory MPs plans to support a bill this afternoon that would force Boris Johnson to seek a Brexit extension if there's no deal reached by October 19th. They argue it's essential to avoid a disastrous crash out at the end of October. One of the rebels is Dominic Grieve.
My colleagues are subject to a lot of pressure. They're being threatened with deselection, having their whips with the whip withdrawn, the end of their careers. But my impression is I think we have sufficient numbers to carry the business.
Tory MP Sam Gyimah says he isn't deterred by the threats.
The Prime Minister has framed this as we either choose our personal interest or the national interest. And I think a number of us are going to put the country first.
But Arch-Brexiteer Dominic Raab says taking no deal off the table weakens the UK's negotiating position.
The handbrake on getting Brexit delivered and getting the country motoring forward is the lingering sense in Brussels that maybe the shenanigans in Parliament will lead to the delay or the cancellation of Brexit.
If the rebels succeed, it's expected Boris Johnson will call a snap election for October 14th, but even that's not guaranteed, as he needs 2/3 of the House of Commons to back it. Meanwhile, here at home, the Cabinet will consider no-deal preparations as they meet this afternoon, with all eyes on the unfolding business in London. Sean Defoe, Leinster House.
Consumers are being warned that the cost of online shopping will increase after Brexit. The Competition and Consumer Protection Commission is also warning that EU laws which govern when and why you can return goods will not apply to anything bought online in the UK after October 31st. Communications Director with the CPCC, Anya Carroll, says it's important consumers get in the know before Brexit.
From the perspective of, well, will that law exist in the UK after the UK leaves the EU? No, it won't. So those rights that you currently have will not be guaranteed by EU law. So it is really important for us all as consumers to make sure that when we're shopping online that we understand the geographical location of the retailer that we're buying from, that we understand that we need to take a quick look to see what would happen in the event of you wanting to return something.
A local campaigner says there's a simple solution to a collision black spot on the main Waterford to Cork road. A fatal crash at Carroll's Cross claimed the life of 75-year-old Oliver Kerwin from Kilmacthomas in July. People living near there have been calling for the layout of the road to be changed for years. One of them is lecturer at IT Carlow, Emmett Cullinan. He spoke to Damien Tiernan on Daysha today. He wants a turning lane to be installed on the left-hand lane for traffic travelling from Waterford.
It's a busy junction, and the problem is there's 4 roads that don't converge at the exact same spot. They're maybe a couple of 100 metres apart. But step 1 is what we've been trying for 3 years. Step 1 is just put a filter lane in there. It's not complicated. There's no compulsory land order. There's no purchasing stuff. There's a big grass margin. Put in the filter lane. Fix that one. Step 1, fix that.
Emma Cullinan would also like to see flashing speed limit signs installed in the area.
So if you're driving your car and you see a speed sign, you don't even register. But if you see the sign flashing and telling you you're going over the limit, you tend to slow down. So they could easily, so step 1 is put a filter lane in. Step 2 is at minimum put some kind of traffic calming, traffic slowing, and at least put in those type of feedback mechanism signs.
The US Vice President and the Taoiseach are expected to discuss Brexit, immigration and trade this afternoon. The two men and their families are having lunch at Farmley House as part of Mike Pence's first state visit to Ireland. Vice President Pence met with President Michael D. Higgins at the Áras this morning. They discussed the role Irish migrants continue to play in US society. 25 people are confirmed dead after a boat was destroyed by a fire off the coast of California. 9 people remain missing, with authorities saying they're prepared for the worst outcome. The fire started while the boat was anchored metres off Santa Cruz Island, about 145 kilometres west of Los Angeles. The cause of the blaze is not yet clear, and here's the moment the Mayday call went out, confirming 39 people were on board.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. I can't breathe. 39 POE.
Motorists are advised that no traffic will be permitted to travel through Tallow today. It's to cater for those travelling to attend the Tallow Horse Show. Diversions are in place and are signposted.
WLR Sport.
Starting with soccer, where Waterford FC manager Alan Reynolds was delighted with his team's performance in their win over Cork City at Turner's Cross last night. It was the third time the Blues defeated the Rebels this season. 2 goals in the final 10 minutes bagged all 3 points for Waterford FC in a 2-1 win. Alan Reynolds says it's been a very busy few weeks for the squad.
That's our 4th game in 9 days, and we were out on our feet there. Like I'm looking at Georgie Poynton, and he hasn't played all season. Next week he's playing 300 pounds, and that's his 4th. I just felt it caught up with some of our lads. I just thought the effort and I suppose the application, you could see that never say die, and fought our way back into it. Like, again, it wasn't really pretty, but it showed a lot of character and a lot of fight, and fellas proud to put on the Waterford jersey.
John Kavanagh, who had to come off due to injuries, says it was a great win.
The most important thing is we came away with a positive result again, and we've built on the last 2 performances. So just my hamstring there, so I just kind of felt my hamstring after a run down the line. So look, we'll give it time to settle over the next few days and see where it is, you know.
2 Waterford-born players have completed moves to new clubs. Leo Connor, the former Villa player and current Irish under-21 international, has left Manchester United and has signed a 4-year contract with Celtic. 19-year-old Lee says it's a great move for him, and he's confident he can break into the first-team squad this season. Meanwhile, Darryl Murphy has been released by Nottingham Forest, but he's signed a contract with Bolton Wanderers until the end of the current season. The League One side were almost wound up 2 weeks ago, but they secured new investors at the last minute. A fortnight ago, ago. They were defeated 5-0 at home by one of Darrell's former clubs, Ipswich Town. New manager Keith Hill believes Darrell can play a vital role in keeping Bolton in League One. They began the new season with a 12-point reduction due to their financial difficulties during the past 2 years. In Gaelic games, Kevin Walsh has stepped down as Galway football manager, saying he was honoured to be able to leave football in the county in a better place. The tribesman won 2 Connacht's titles during his 5 years in charge and contested 2 other provincial finals. While in tennis, Johanna Konta will aim to become the first British woman since 1983 to reach the semi-finals of the US Open, when she plays Elina Svitolina later. The 23-time Grand Slam winner Serena Williams goes up against Chang Wang tonight, while Roger Federer faces Grigor Dimitrov in the men's quarter-finals, with Dani Medvedev taking on Stan Wawrinka. Yesterday, defending women's champion Naomi Osaka was knocked out after losing in straight sets to Switzerland Belinda Bencic, while Rafael Nadal reached the last 8 after beating Croatian Marin Cilic in 4 sets. That's the latest on WLR. Our next bulletin is at 2.